Yeah. But hey, if anybody, the current director wasn't able to, he's not an operations guy, he's a dispatcher who turned, so the chiefs are revolting, so they got to clean that up. So hopefully he can do it.
Did you say we're on? Did you say on?
I didn't hear.
We're on. All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Tuesday, July 16th Select Board meeting. This meeting will be broadcast live and recorded by Foxboro Cable Access.
And we have Dennis.
All right, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
And Dennis is
Oh, I'm sorry. And we have Dennis. I'm so sorry. We have Dennis is on remotely tonight joining us. So, all right. So with the pledge. Mr. John Lovely, will you lead us in the pledge?
Honestly, I just read it again because I drew a blank the last time I was here. Drawing a blank.
All you have to say is,
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I nailed it.
I had faith in you, my friend. Okay. Do we have anybody here for citizens input? No. Anybody remotely? Nope. All right. Here we go. All right. Okay. All right. First up on the agenda then will be a transfer of liquor license from Wormtown from Wormtown to Be Hoppy. Everybody's here. Nice. All
Technical,
right.
but we should probably wait till 7:05.
Oh,
So if you want to,
skip over and go down.
yeah, just in case.
Yeah, because it's a public
Because it's a
hearing.
public
we gotta do
hearing.
that.
You can stay there, though. Front and center.
Exactly. So we're going to maybe go to do a couple action items?
Sure.
Deb? Yeah. We're going to go to you.
Make a motion to accept the enrollment fees for the Junior Police Academy in the amount of $150.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
We have to do a roll
We're
call.
going to roll call.
Mark, yes.
Bill, yes.
Stephanie, yes?
Debbie, yes.
You're muted.
Not
No.
yet.
No.
Can you hear me?
There you go.
Yeah.
Dennis, yes.
Okay.
Motion to accept a food and hat donation from the Bass Pro Shops at One Patriot Place for the Kids Fishing Derby sponsored by the Recreation Department.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Mark, yes.
Bill, yes.
Stephanie, yes?
Debbie, yes.
Dennis, yes.
Motion to appoint Mead, Tallerman, and Costa as town council with a term to end May 31st, 2025.
Any discussion?
Second, I'm sorry.
I jumped a second. Just to let people know at home that Bill and Paige sat down, finalized. Oh, Paige, I thought you were joining. Okay, it was just Paige. Sat down, finalized contract, and we're good to go, and they've already been consulting with some stuff we had. So, okay, all those in favor?
Mark, yes.
Bill, yes.
Stephanie, yes?
Debbie, yes.
Dennis, yes.
Motion to appoint Jack Barton to the Council on Aging Human Services Board for a term to end May 31st, 2025.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Mark, yes.
Bill, yes.
Stephanie, yes?
Debbie, yes.
Dennis, yes.
Motion to appoint Tom Gill to the Employee Insurance Advisory Board as the Foxborough Education Association representative for a term to end May 31st, 2025.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Mark, yes.
Bill, yes.
Stephanie, yes?
Debbie, yes.
Dennis, yes.
Okay.
Motion to appoint Blair Crane to the Zoning Board of Appeals as an associate for a term to end May 31st, 2025.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Mark, yes.
Bill, yes.
Stephanie, yes?
Debbie, yes.
Dennis, yes.
Motion to approve a new pool table application from Crazy Axes Foxborough LLC DBA Crazy Axes at 2020 Patriots Place for 2 non-coin operated pool tables.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Mark, yes.
Bill, yes.
Stephanie, yes.
Debbie, yes.
Dennis, yes.
Okay, I have 7:05, so we can, that's good. We'll just finish those last couple ones at the end. Okay, so open up the public hearing.
Yeah, I don't know how to do that.
Just
Second mo-
read the notice. Want me to do it?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right, let me just pull it down a little. The Select Board, acting as the local licensing authority pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 138, will conduct a public hearing on Tuesday, July 16, 2024, beginning at 7:05 p.m. in the Gala Meeting Room, Town Hall, 40 South Street, Foxborough, Mass., on the application of a transfer of license of a 19H Farmer Series and malt beverage only pouring permit for Wormtown Brewery, LLC, DBA Wormtown Brewery, 200 Patriot Place, Foxborough, Mass., to B Hoppy Brewery, LLC, doing business as Wormtown Brewery, Sam Hendler, General Manager. All interested parties are welcome to attend.
Okay.
Good evening.
Oh, we have to vote on that to open the meeting? No. Okay, perfect. All right, guys.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. My name is Tyler Hensler. I'm from the law firm of Upton, Cannell, and Devlin, and I'm here representing B Hoppy Brewing, LLC. Again, this is a transfer of a brewery pouring license. This is part of a larger transaction where B Hoppy Brewing, LLC, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of Jack's Abbey Brewing, LLC, is buying Wormtown. And joining me tonight is Sam Hendler. He is CEO and one of the founding members and owners of Jack's Abbey Brewing, as well as the initial manager of record for this Foxborough location upon the transfer. So the sale included both the Worcester home base location of the Wormtown Brewery and the Patriot Place location here in Foxborough. Most, if not all, of the operation will remain the same brands, recipes, same beer, and the same space here in Foxborough. This application here is just one step of, honestly, many involved in transferring the necessary federal, state, and local licenses that are necessary to run a brewery. So, as you can imagine. As such, we are working with the ABCC to make sure that we have as little downtime as possible to ensure continuity for the community of Foxborough. I'll speak a little bit about Sam as the manager of record. He is a U.S. citizen. He is a Massachusetts resident. He's familiar with the rules and regulations pertaining to the sale and service of alcohol of this board, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and the ABCC. And he has experience in the industry, as he is, again, the CEO and one of the founders of Jack's Abbey, one of the largest and best-selling breweries in Massachusetts. I have here, actually, and I have a request to the board. We included a lease assignment with the craft group for the current tenant to sign it over, which was unexecuted. I have here an executed copy, which if I may ask that we could supplement our application with this signed version. And I also have a check for Katie Lang.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. With that, we are happy to take any questions. Thank you for your time.
Sure, so you're already the manager on record up at Patriot Place anyhow, so, correct? Is that what you said? He's the manager of record there?
No.
Oh.
No, he will be.
He will be. I thought you said.
No, sorry.
Okay, all right. I mean, obviously, we know you know the business. Just a quick question. Doesn't really have so much to do with this one, but is that going to be it for Wormtown? Are you buying everything?
No, Wormtown's going to be the same, brand and same beer and everything. It's just ownership. That's being transferred.
Oh, okay. So you're buying Wormtown.
Like
Yes.
as the beer, yeah.
Yeah.
So we will still be operating Wormtown Brewery in
Yeah.
Foxborough.
So you won't. So it's not just these two locations. You are going to own Wormtown.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. All right. Great. Anybody have any?
No, pretty
guys?
Straightforward.
Dennis, you have any questions or concerns?
Not really. I'm just curious why, what the plan is here. What made you decide to buy Wormtown in terms of the business transaction?
Well, I think if Sam can go into specifics, but I think on a general note, without disclosing too much business strategy, but Jack's Abbey again is one of the largest breweries in Massachusetts, and they have a distribution network, quite frankly, that outranks Wormtown, and Wormtown's such a good brand that just thought it would be a good fit to put a good brand with a good distribution network for some more sales.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm not a beer drinker, but I'm a waitress and a bartender, and places I've worked have served all three. So it's all good sellers, and it's probably a very good business move on your part.
Thank you. We're very excited.
They're all good. They're all good, and they all sell well.
Happy to hear that.
Yeah. Anything else, Ed? All right. Deb, we can take a motion.
Well, I can't right now.
Okay.
Doc, can you do that for me?
Yeah, move to close the public hearing.
Thank you, Doc.
Second. Have to second open it, so.
No, but to close the public hearing, we do.
I think you can tell we haven't been here in a month. Everybody's a little sleepy tonight, huh? Okay.
Or vote.
All right.
Vote.
Go on closing?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All those in favor? Closing?
Mark, yes?
Bill, yes.
Stephanie, yes.
Debbie, yes.
Dennis, yes.
Okay, now move to approve the transfer of a farmer service and malt beverage only pouring permit from Wormtown Brewery LLC, DBA Wormtown Brewery, to B Hoppy Brewery LLC, DBA Wormtown Brewery at 200 Patriot Place.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Mark, yes?
Bill, yes.
Stephanie, yes.
Debbie, yes.
Dennis, yes.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck, good luck.
Thank you.
I will just I will ask, we have 7:15 for the next one. Are we going to wait until that time as well?
Yeah.
Technically,
That's
we
fine. I'm doing the next one too, so if I have a moment to step out and say bye to Sam, and then I'll come right back.
Absolutely.
Doc, can you take the motions I'm not on?
Okay, yeah,
Thank
no
you.
worries. Yep.
Okay, so, up next, okay. Nervy Inc. and Ambrosia.
Want to do the
We're-
last few items now?
Huh?
Want to do the last few
Oh.
items, just knock those off?
Oh, that's right, he was going right for that next one. Okay, oh, that's right, that's all. I'm sorry. Deb, can you read do you have the,
Action items?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, the last
Motion
two.
to approve the renewal of the Foxborough VFW Post 2626 located at 337 Cocasset Street and Rally Point Inn and Pub located at 9 Mechanic Street, pool table license for 2024.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Mark, yes?
Bill, yes.
Stephanie, yes.
Debbie, yes.
Dennis, yes.
Motion to approve the use of public way application for the Max Performance Sharon Triathlon on August 11th, 2024, from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., traveling on Willow Street and East Street.
Second.
Under discussion, obviously I'm not familiar with this one, they've done this before, so everything's good.
For years.
Okay, all those in favor?
Mark, yes?
Bill, yes.
Stephanie, yes.
Debbie, yes.
Dennis, yes.
Motion to approve the Board of Selectmen meeting minutes from the June 18th, 2024 meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? Oh, you know something?
We'll do it, we'll go back to the other
Go
one.
back. We'll go back.
Yeah, okay. We'll go back, because there was something about the minutes.
Oh, you got an issue?
Yeah. No, there was just, hold on one second. I had it written down, I didn't bring the paper with me, there's something about the minutes. on a second, Katie. I think it wasn't big. I think it was just like a, all right, hold on. Or two things. Katie, under the discussion about the operations position, there we go. There was one of the motions, the motion, it says it was seconded by D. Elfman.
Oh, I'm sorry about
So we had Mark Elfman, obviously Doc, and then I think it was supposed to be Keith, but we have Elfman. Did you see that?
Should be.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about that.
And the other thing was, just right above that, under Bill's comment, concern that another department will the person is pulled away. I think it was supposed to be other department, when the person is pulled away will fail. Maybe when instead of will. See, I pay attention. I need your minutes. Deb, can you do, so we can just make a motion with those two small corrections? Anybody else have anything? Okay.
Motion to approve the Board of Selectmen minute meetings as amended from the June 18th, 2024 meeting.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Mark, yes.
Bill, yes.
Stephanie, yes?
Debbie, yes.
Dennis, yes.
All right, we might as well just do that last one. I think we are.
1610.
Yep, because 716, why don't we just do the last one, then they'll be done.
That was the last one.
No, one above.
Right above it. The election warrant.
Oh, I'm sorry. Motion to approve the state election warrant.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Mark, yes.
Bill, yes.
Stephanie, yes?
Debbie, yes.
Dennis, yes.
All right, good. All right. We'll get those all taken care of. All right, so now up for Nervy, we've got multiple ones. They're going to go right after. The first one is the settlement agreement, and then we're going to go into alcohol licenses. So we're going to go bing, bing, bing.
I really can't.
All right. So we have to open this one too. Doc, you want to do it, or you want me to read it?
I don't see the public,
I don't believe the first one's a public hearing.
yeah, I don't think the first one is a public hearing.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking at the item before and I saw public hearing. Okay,
Yep,
perfect.
no.
All right, my fault. Okay, super. All right, guys.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Tyler Hensler again. With me is Mukesh. She's the manager of record. This is Sunny Patel, the owner. I'm going to be honest here. I was not involved with any of the settlement discussions prior to this morning. So I will leave it to the board to lead this discussion, and we're happy to answer.
Yeah, I'm glad to step in.
Any questions? Oh, yes,
Sure.
Paige.
So, as you know, earlier this year, the board declined to renew a license, all alcohol license. Since that time, the Nervy representatives have worked tirelessly with the town staff, with building, fire, health, and their council. So they've worked through the problems that were out there that the town had observed, and have now, with this settlement, has been reviewed by all the town staff, by our town council, by their council, by the new entities council, and by their liquor council. So many attorneys have reviewed it. We think it's a fair settlement, and the plan is if the board does approve it, then it would go to the ABCC, and then they would take the next steps to eliminate the appeal, to distinguish that, and then we have further action this evening. But this basically has been reviewed. I will note that there is a question on item 12. Frank Spillane representing Nervy has asked for, and I gave you each a color printout. The second paragraph is the one Frank Spillane is pointing towards, but staff, and in consultation as well, based on the staff's comments, have asked for the first one to ensure that all the departments that have been involved have an opportunity, and there's a remedy if there are future problems. So, but that is a board decision on which of the 12. So it would be either paragraph, not both.
So, my opinion is that the first one, which town council has also blessed, to my
Yes.
understanding, I think is clear. I think it sets the guidelines. I think it sets the penalty time-wise to allow remedy where the second one doesn't do that. So my opinion is that we should stick with the first one based on the above.
I would agree. Reading them both, pretty much what Paige just said. I mean, we hope everything goes well, but you've been, we have 2 new board members, but you guys have been before us multiple times. And I don't think, the only difference I do really see in these is where it talks about, if something were to go wrong, that it would have to be corrected within 30 days. And the first thing I did was just reach out to Paige and ask Paige, is this standard for our other businesses? And it is. So for me, I would want it to stay with the way every other business in town would have, I don't think that there's anything different for you guys than anybody else. So I really don't feel comfortable with changing it for one business in town.
Yeah.
Dennis?
I would, I'd like to weigh in too.
Yep.
I would go with the first version as well. People that were participants at the hearings and all the discussions we had around these issues. Police and fire were very prominently involved in a lot of the stuff that went on up there. So I think it's really important that they are really specified in that paragraph in terms of overall responsibility and enforcement.
Deb, Doc?
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for the first number 12. I'd even go so far as I wouldn't change this now, it's too late in the process, but I'd even go further in somehow being delinquent in certain taxes over the years. I would probably put a sentence in about delinquency, and neither one of them are listening to me right now, so I guess it's a moot point, but I would stick with number 1.
There might be something in there about that. Let me just see.
I don't remember seeing it.
No, there isn't? Okay.
Unless the order or directive has something that says you have to stay current.
So I'm going to say it again so you guys can hear what I have to say this time.
Yep.
I've been on the board a long time. You guys have been delinquent with taxes for a long time. I would have added another paragraph in there about delinquency also.
Okay.
But having said that, I'm not going to mess with the agreement, especially with number 12 right now.
Okay.
But I personally am going to check with the Revenue Department and make sure you guys are as current as you possibly could be.
Are you talking about the landlord?
No, he's talking
Nervy.
about
Talking about Nervy.
Nervy Inc.? Okay.
Yeah. And again, you're new, so, but I think the first.
Number 4
12.
does stipulate that they have to.
Oh, did I miss that?
But just said shall pay to the town, but it doesn't, by the due dates. It doesn't give any 30-day or anything, but it basically just says by the due date, they shall be paid.
Very fair.
Yeah, but Paige, but we do have, like, when they've come before us before, and I'm just sure, just like any taxpayer in town, the Revenue Department would, or Paul, the treasurer would, there are certain stipulations, so if they come behind, it's going to be just whatever we do for every business too. Is if they're.
Correct, although I think we would hear about it sooner.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
because that's something that we'll be monitoring.
Yeah.
Especially in the beginning. But I know there are provisions in the future that this should be mitigated. There shouldn't be any concerns moving forward.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know this is the first time you've been before us with this.
I'm playing catch-up, I
Yeah,
apologize.
yeah. This this board has been very lenient with lots of infractions, and we want you to be successful. And you have done a good job of getting yourself caught up, but I don't think there's much more leniency. I don't speak for the whole board, but, so we just hope everything goes good. Going forward, we hope everything goes great.
Yep.
As do we.
Yeah. So are you guys good with going with the language?
The first version that I saw on Pages, that's perfect, yeah.
Okay. All right, super. All right.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, Deb, you want me to move?
Yes, please.
Okay. Motion to approve the Nervy Inc. doing business as Olive and Mint Ambrosia located at 2 Washington Street. Appeal settlement, ABCC appeal settlement agreement.
Second.
Any other discussion? Dennis, anything?
No,
Okay. All those in favor?
Mark, yes.
Bill, yes.
Stephanie, yes.
Debbie, yes.
Dennis, yes.
And we will ask you to sign this document. Katie has the original, so we'll ask you to sign that.
Thank you.
All right, no, you're welcome. You guys did do a good job.
Yep.
Yeah.
We have the next one too, so I think we're staying put.
You also
Yeah,
have
it's good.
No,
7:25.
no, I think,
You gotta
I think
stay.
I think you can stick around for
Thank you,
at
really
least the
appreciate it. Thank you.
alteration.
You gotta stay.
Stay right here.
Okay.
So now we have a public hearing.
Yeah, we're good, right?
I'm just
Yeah,
pulling it up.
7:26, so we're good.
All right, let me just scroll down a little. There we go. The Select Board, acting as the local licensing authority pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 138, will conduct a public hearing on Tuesday, July 16th, 2024, beginning at 7:25 p.m. in the Gala Meeting Room, Town Hall, 40 South Street, Foxborough, Mass., on the 2024 application for renewal of the Nervy Inc. Olive and Mint Ambrosia on premises all alcohol beverage license in accordance with the approved ABCC appeal settlement agreement. Location of the licensed premises is 2 Washington Street, Foxborough, Mass. Manager of record is Nandish Patel. All interested parties are welcome to attend.
Good evening. So this is for, so it's all kind of connected, but again, Tyler Hensler here representing Nervy Inc. And this is an alteration of premises in order to basically cede the space that makes up the restaurant.
I think this is to go back to the full all alcohol,
Oh.
and then the next one is going to be the alteration
I'm
of
sorry,
premise.
I was checking my notes and I'm,
Yeah, so
I-
this is to restore the original permit, because that was the one that was not reviewed. And then in the next hearing, we'll be considering the alteration
Okay,
of premise.
yeah, so that is why, so I was checking my notes, and that is what I was actually sent here to do. My very limited role in this settlement agreement was to ask that tomorrow, if this is approved, one of the select board members or, a representative of the select board agree to hop on a call with my boss to call the ABCC so that they have a way to just correct their records so that this license is retroactive to January 1st, 2024, pursuant to, the first paragraph. So apologies for the confusion, but that's what I was sent here to do.
So just to clarify, as I kind of stated, that this would, because the board failed to renew the license last January, this would then restore the full license, and then your next hearing would be to discuss the reduction of premise, and then the next hearing will be to add a new license. So it's a 4-part or 5-part process. So this is to restore the permit so that they can move forward with the next steps. And I'm glad to step on that call if the board so designates me to do so.
Okay. And is there anything, when we go backwards and say that license began January 1st, it doesn't wipe away anything, going forward?
No.
As far, it doesn't matter.
It's more of a
We're
procedural,
restoring
yes.
it, but I just want to make sure that it is on record that they were denied at some point. So that's it for further boards or next year or
Yes.
anybody else. Okay, perfect.
And ABCC doesn't have to do, the thing that we just signed off on, they don't have to review that as a sign-off first? Or is that what you call it?
It's all going to be, I think they've been consulted, correct me if I'm wrong, that this firm is well-versed in, that's their specialty, so they are aware of these steps, and they have sort of endorsed this process, this multi-step process to get through it procedurally.
Okay.
Which will be tied together tomorrow at the phone call.
Yes, all these steps are required for them to probably get to where the applicant would like
Yeah,
to.
I can add, we have previous, I was going to mention it in the next hearing, we have previous authorization to do this all at once, even though,
Yeah, it seems like
it should be
a step in
sequentially, but
between.
we have special permission here.
Perfect. Okay. Doc, you want to make the motion to
Just
close?
ask if anybody from the audience has anything to say.
Oh, that's right, public hearing. Anybody else that's here have anything they want to say? Absolutely, come on up.
My name's George Georginas. I live at, sorry?
You have to be at a mic.
My name's George Georginas. I live at 5 Tucker Lane. I abut the property. I am not so pleased to hear this being pushed through. So I've gotten to know Lieutenant John Chamberlain of the police department quite well because I've made quite a few calls to him in the past for the behavior that's taken over at the property that abuts Tucker Lane. I represent the other 4 neighbors on my street. All 4 of them are on vacation, so I'm here, which is fine. I was coming whether they were or not. Last year, we would be woken up at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. with music that I thought was in my backyard. Now, my backyard abuts the property. I sleep very soundly. The music woke me up. Sometimes I like to sleep, and my wife the same way, with the windows open when it's not so warm and we don't need the AC. It was unacceptable, unacceptable. Call the police department. Oh, hi, sir. Yes, sir. Oh, we'll send somebody over, sir. Okay, great. 10 minutes later, the music stops. Great. Following weekend, same thing. 2 o'clock in the morning. Second time I get up out of bed, threw some clothes on, got in the car, got into the parking lot. What I saw, I can't describe it to you. Like something out of a movie. They have rogue security, armed, no police detail. Nobody knows about it from the town. I spoke to Lieutenant Chamberlain. He said, no, there was no permits. He said, if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't know any of this. I said, okay, what are we going to do about this? This is unacceptable. He said, well, as I understand it, and I'm going off of memory, I believe the owner of said property is out of the country. Okay, still his responsibility. Whoever's there, whoever's in charge, am I right? He said, oh, absolutely. He said, I'm on your side. I said, I don't want anybody to be on my side. This just shouldn't be happening. He agreed. Okay, he was going to put, does everybody know where Tucker Lane is? Let me describe it. So you come down North Street, and if you get to Route 1, you take a right. Foxborough ends probably right around their property. So I think probably what happens, and John said the same thing to me, that there's not a lot of detail that goes by there because you're only maybe 500 or 600 yards, and then you got to go up and then turn around and come back. So there's not a lot of eyes there, and there probably doesn't need to be. So I said, is there any way we can put somebody on patrol here? And he said, oh, we'll work on that. I said, okay, great. It happened a third time, probably a couple weeks later. And he knew I was not pleased for obvious reasons. The neighbors aren't pleased. We're talking back and forth. It's unacceptable. I said, I agree. It has since stopped and hasn't been happening since. But I got to be honest, it hasn't left me. Listen, I own a business in the city of Boston. I employ more than 130 people. If something goes wrong in my business, whether I'm there or not, I'm ultimately responsible. It's my responsibility. I own the business. I employ them. So my hope is that because said owner was away out of the country, I hope it's not incumbent that, well, he's not responsible. Somebody's responsible, and in my opinion, it's unacceptable. You might not know it, and you probably can't tell today because I'm a little hepped up. I'm a real easygoing guy. Not much bothers me. I want to see people succeed. I want to see people happy. But when you're interrupting people at 12, 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, then that's not acceptable. So that's my 2 cents.
Sure, what was your name again, one more time?
First name's George.
George.
Last name's Georginas.
Okay, is it okay if I refer to you as George?
Absolutely.
All right.
Okay?
All right, so, I'm glad you're here telling us this, because when you say it's getting pushed through, I'm going to speak for myself, but I would guess that nobody on this board knows that. And when we get this stuff, we're getting the blessing of the police department, the fire department, the Board of Health. And so
Yep.
I'm glad that you're bringing it to our attention, because maybe we can have a discussion with Chief Grace just to find out, because I know there was some of this we talked about, certain, when they have so many people, they have to have Foxborough police details up there. So.
They were employing their own detail. Tongue-in-cheek detail,
Yeah.
in other words. It was rogue, but go ahead, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
So, so we we, there's no way of us to know any of this unless it had been brought to our attention,
Yep.
calls.
We did know there were neighbor concerns. We were informed of that,
And
yeah.
that's why we're here today, and that's
Yeah.
why they lost their license in
Yeah.
January. We heard, not all three, but
Yeah.
I heard two of those concerns.
Okay.
And that's why we're here today, and that's why there's a whole new set of guidelines and so nothing was pushed through. This is, here we are already middle of July, and they've been,
Great, I didn't mean to misspeak.
no, go.
And I hope I
okay.
didn't misspeak. I don't recall us having a,
Oh, there was a huge,
Yeah?
I
No,
think
not the
Chief-
neighbors, but we just knew from the police that there had been events.
yeah, we were
that-
told
There were
about-
events that weren't.
yeah, yes, yeah. I'm
And it-
I'm
There were
sorry.
events
I
that
don't want
weren't,
to misspeak for the board.
there were events that the
Yeah.
town didn't know about,
Right.
i.e.
No.
the police, and to me, that's unacceptable. So let me just tell you, Tucker Lane is a private street, and it's in conjunction with Pickering Circle. There are 3 more homes. Between the 2 streets, there's 5 acres. We all own it, and the only way the town would let us build years ago was if it was private. We're all thrilled about it, and have been, and I'm the oldest one that's the longest tenured there. The street's 26 years, I've been there 26 years. We were notified, or I was notified, and 2 others were notified, but the other 2 people on Tucker, which is closest, weren't notified. I'm not sure why. I've incorporated the street, and it's in a trust. I manage it, so I probably get more notices than any of my neighbors, just because I'm the eyes and the ears, and, I write the checks for snow plowing and lighting and so on and so forth.
To get to you, is it off of Willis?
No, Meadowview. So you go North Street.
Oh, okay,
Take
okay.
a left on Meadowview.
Okay.
The very first left is Pickering. There's 3
Okay.
homes on that cul-de-sac. You go up about, 300 yards. The next left is Tucker.
Okay.
And there's 5 homes. My home I'm the closest one. I'm probably, my backyard abuts their property probably 400 yards. I can't see them, nor can they see me, because it's so heavily treed and wooded. But every once in a while, we can hear things. I don't have any issues with that. It doesn't happen often. What I do have an issue with is being woken up at 1, 2, 3 o'clock to music that you think is the speakers right there. That's my problem. Otherwise, I don't have any issues.
I can
There's a
provide
lot
some
of,
I can provide some clarification. So the abutter notification is 300 feet. So it being the close, it's all based on the tax maps and the assessors. So that's a list generated by the town
Yep.
for whom's notified. And just to give you some assurances, the settlement agreement the board just voted includes language. The licensee shall maintain at least 1 crowd manager for every 250 patrons attending any function or simultaneous functions to be held at the function hall. They have to have a crowd manager when parking vehicles for Gillette Stadium events, and they have to have 1 parking attendant for any function with more than 250. They also have to inform the police that, let's see, the licensee should provide notification at least 48 hours in advance for any event or simultaneous event at the function hall where they would anticipate hosting more than 400 patrons at one time. So there are these measures now put into place that that will be managed, and they're well aware, having the board, they've been put out of business for 6-7 months.
Yep.
So they now understand it. And you'll see there is another entity coming in. So actually the function space is going to only be a portion of it. There'll be a restaurant, a normal restaurant,
Yep.
that will help sort of police that operation, because they're not going to want to have crowds in their backyard as well, because they're going to be running a restaurant where they need to have it not be unruly, unsafe, and whatnot. So
Yep.
we were aware, and we did incorporate these provisions to try to ensure some crowd management.
Okay, great. Can I just finish with two more things? And I'm sorry to take up a lot of time. When you're in the parking lot of the establishment, you can't see my neighborhood, which is fine. I think that's great. So if you're new coming into that parking lot, whoever you are, whether it's morning, noon, or it's nighttime and it's dark, you have no idea what's behind the said fence. And that's fine. I like that, and it's not an issue. But anybody coming in just assumes that it's treed for miles and miles when it really isn't. The other thing that is a little bit concerning, there's been a fence framing their back parking lot. And so at the very back is the fence. I'm not sure that if anybody has seen it or remembers it, but there's a fence. And then behind the fence is obviously our properties, and there's a lot of woods and trees and brush. The fence, I believe, came down from storms, I believe, and it's down. I've seen cars back there now, so people are driving back there, parked behind some of the fence that's up, and I don't know what they're doing. I don't want to know what they're doing. But I also look at it as, in the past, it hasn't happened in quite some time, but I'm the first one to err on the side of being cautious. I don't want to see anybody tailgating back there during Patriots games, because it happens, and lighting barbecues, and then for whatever reason, maybe forgetting to put it out, and then all of a sudden, 20 minutes later, we're calling the fire department, and it might be a real chore to get a truck back there. So I would love to see whomever it is, whether it's this board or someone else, insist that that fence goes up, get it fixed, and shut it so that you contain everybody in the parking lot. I have no problem with anybody in the parking lot. I just don't want to see anybody back there, because again, it's heavily wooded and treed. Okay?
If I could have just a moment to respond to a few of these things. I'll start with the fence. Sonny just told me the fence, it's in the work to be fixed.
Okay.
So fence will be fixed. As to the earlier disturbances, I'd like to respond. I can't educatedly. I don't know anything. I don't have police reports, dates, but in that spirit, this is Sonny. You have here the owner of the business and the manager of record of the business. I'd like to give you their email. And if you have any problems, noise, after hours activities, people tailgating, anything, send them an email. I mean, you're cutting out, you can go right to the source. And if that doesn't work,
Great, I'll just ask for cell phone versus email.
Sure. Cell phone.
Okay.
versus- Yeah, no problem.
Even the fence after that, the properties are.
Sure, and again, I'm glad you got up. My memory might not be as good. I just, when we heard everything, there was a lot, there was so much wrong with the business that we were all in agreement that it was going to be no common vic or alcohol license. We shut it down. So you have much better memory than I do. I just remember the whole thing about the parking lot and the noise and the cars and overparked and everything.
Listen, I want to see everybody succeed, no matter what you do in this world. And I don't know him. I'm just seeing him for the first time. I want to see him succeed. But I want to see him succeed and be accountable for his success. And I always make everybody in my life, including the people that work for me, accountable. So when you do something that you're not supposed to do, there's repercussions. You need to be accountable for it. And I just want to make sure that it's on record. My hope is going forward, we have no problems.
Yeah, and hopefully, like Paige said, the agreement put a lot in that wasn't there to begin with. And I would say, if anything continues, continue to call the police and email us.
Yep.
Same thing, the buck does stop here.
Good.
We're letting them, we shut them down for 6 months. that's a long time. So I think we feel, well, I shouldn't say until we vote, we feel comfortable with what what's been put forward, but any other problems, let us know, for sure.
I mean it. I'm very appreciative of you and your time, so thank you for allowing me to come.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And I'll just add, I know, the select board's a great resource, but if you want to, stop it that night and not have to wait till the next meeting, please, give us a call, because that's not something we want as unhappy neighbors.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else want to talk?
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Mark, yes?
Bill, yes.
Stephanie, yes?
Debbie, yes?
Dennis, yes.
Okay.
All right, motion, move to approve the application for renewal of Nervy Inc., doing business as Olive and Ambrosia, located at 2 Washington Street, on premises all alcohol license.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Mark, yes?
Bill, yes.
Stephanie, yes?
Debbie, yes?
Dennis, yes.
Next
All
up.
right. Okay. We can move right along because we're
Yeah.
past the 7:30 for alteration of premises.
Yeah, we'll scroll down. Next one. The Select Board, acting as the local licensing authority pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 138, will conduct a public hearing on Tuesday, July 16th, 2024, beginning at 7:35 PM in the Gala Meeting Room, Town Hall, 40 South Street, Foxborough, Mass., on the application of an alteration of premises for an on-premises all alcohol restaurant license for Nervy Inc., doing business as Ambrosia, 2 Washington Street, Foxborough, Mass. Manager of record, Nandish Patel. All interested parties are welcome to attend.
Good evening again. This one is for that alteration of premises to give that restaurant space to the licensee that'll be coming up right after me, and basically leaving in Nervy Inc.'s name, their license premise will just be the event space. So basically, the 35,000 feet that exists now minus the restaurant space. Everything else, will be conducted in accordance with the settlement statement and hopefully back to business as usual. So before I conclude, I want to just thank the licensing staff here in Foxborough, especially Katie, for working with us. I do this all over the state, and you guys are very easy to work with, so thank you. With that, we're happy to take any questions.
Pretty cut and dry.
Yeah, I have a quick question, might have been for the last one, but just something was brought up about parking, and we have in here, parking cars. Do they have to have a separate license to park cars for not, if they're not operating, like some places on Route 1, they shut it down, but just use the space to park cars, because you don't get very many, sometimes people don't come. For instance, when I worked at the Red Wing, he couldn't do it because he didn't have a sidewalk in front of him, but he shut it down on game days because people didn't come because of the traffic. So is that, just because that was brought up about?
They would need a commercial parking license for that.
Okay.
Did they get one this year?
Yes.
So they have
Oh,
one.
okay,
Yes.
perfect. All right, it just came to me after we.
But they can still operate on those days.
Oh, yeah.
Working with the building commissioner, they have to have a parking plan and work with the building commissioner on a parking plan and with monitors.
Yeah. I just didn't know if they could be shut down for business that day.
No, if
they choose to.
I can talk for Jimmy in the next section. I believe they're going to try to stay open and work agreements on game day of where the parking's going to be in the front lot. Is when I toured it a couple of months ago, the front lot is still going to be for the restaurant. But we can ask when they come up a little bit more specific.
All right,
But
perfect.
I do think that's why the fence, and it sounds like you're going to repair the fence.
Yep.
If you're pushing the tailgaters towards the back, please be aware of making sure that, Tucker Lane, and because that'll just make everybody's challenge, more life challenging.
All right, perfect. Did you already make the motion?
Ask if anybody has anything to.
There we go. Thank you, Doc.
Done this once.
Anybody have anything they want to add for this public hearing?
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Mark, yes?
Bill, yes.
Stephanie, yes?
Debbie, yes.
Dennis, yes.
Okay.
All right, move to approve the application for alteration of premises for Nervy Inc., doing business as Olive and Mint Ambrosia, located at 2 Washington Street, on premises all alcohol license.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Mark, yes?
Bill, yes.
Stephanie, yes?
Debbie, yes.
Dennis, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
And that should be all from me. So thank you very much, and have a great night.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, third public hearing, we good, Madam Chair?
Yep.
Okay.
We are. Yep.
The Select Board, acting as the local licensing authority pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 138, will conduct a public hearing on Tuesday, July 16, 2024, beginning at 7:45 PM in the Gala Meeting Room, Town Hall, 40 South Street, Foxborough, Mass., on the application of an on-premises annual all-alcohol restaurant license for Krishiva Inc., doing business as Sandkalp Restaurant, 2 Washington Street, Foxborough, Mass. Manager Jamin Patel. All interested parties are welcome to attend.
Okay, great. Hey, Jimmy. Nice to see you. Okay. Okay. So, all right. So, when we were setting the agenda, just let people know at home, this alcohol license, I think Bill asked, is coming from Route 1. So,
One node, yes.
yeah, from the Route 1 node. So we saw your application, and do you want to just summarize a little bit? I know we already heard a lot from you last time about the business, about opening up, but you want to just give us maybe, if this goes through, like where you are date-wise and how things are going? I know you've done a lot of work up there.
Yes.
Can you pull the microphone closer?
So kind of like since we opened the restaurant on the July 4th, it's been going well. Like people come over there, they like the place, they like the kind of like the facility now, and the food is awesome. Like everybody's like greeting that, but everybody has a question like, oh, why there is no booze on the bar? So we telling them like, down the road we are planning to get the alcohol license there, and we're gonna serve the alcohol and everything, because people like come for the dinner, they want like some kind of drinks with the food, so like that. So that's why we are here today, to just apply the full liquor license so we can serve the alcohol also with the food.
And Paige, can you just remind us what we have for alcohol licenses left after we do this available to other entities?
Do you remember?
We have 2 all alcohol on premise and 2 beer and wine. And then we do have a couple of the special nodes for our special legislation, and then no package stores.
And we always, as we discussed in our previous meeting, we always, if there's a node license available, we go to that first, so that we keep the all-town ones open, since they offer more flexibility.
Okay.
Yep. Great. And yeah, some of the just general questions we always say, when we talk about the alcohol licenses, so all your employees have to be
Certified, yep.
Yep, safe surf and is that what they call it now, the alcohol one? What was it?
Tip certified, isn't
Tip
it?
certified, tip certified.
Tips, yep.
He's
I should
already,
know that, but
if I may, my
it's been a
name,
little while since I had to renew mine, so, all right. And anyone else on the board have any other,
Nope, looking forward to it.
Yeah, really, again, just to reiterate it, I got a chance to walk through a couple of weeks before they opened up, and the restaurant's phenomenal. They're all ready to go with the bar and that aspect too, and I think it's going to be a great addition to Route 1 and the community.
yeah, I can't wait to make Doc bring me up for lunch.
Absolutely.
Doc is just, he's ranted and raved at how impressed he was with what you've done up there, and that's great to hear.
Yeah.
We'd love to see you be a very successful restaurant up there, for sure. Dennis, you have anything?
No, I'd love for them to be successful in that location. It's been a challenge. over the years, to my knowledge. So good luck and best wishes.
Thank you so much.
Great.
Thank you so much, Dan.
Anybody else before we ask the audience?
Nope.
Anybody want to come up to speak about the public hearing from the audience? Okay, without hearing, Doc, you want to close it?
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Mark, yes.
Bill, yes.
Stephanie, yes.
Debbie, yes.
Dennis, yes.
All right, motion to approve the application for an on-premises all-alcohol restaurant license for Krashiva Inc., doing business as Sandclap, located at 2 Washington Street.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Mark, yes.
Bill, yes.
Stephanie, yes.
Debbie, yes.
And Dennis, yes.
There you go. Good
you.
luck.
Awesome.
Good luck.
Good job, guys. Good luck, all you guys.
So when is that accessible to them, now that we've
Oh,
voted?
good question.
So I will submit all of those tomorrow morning and try to do that first thing because they're all waiting on it. And then I'm given a 6 to 8 week turnaround time. But usually if they have representation from an attorney, if they know someone to push along further, that's how it happens quickly. And then once I hear back from the commission's approval, then I send another licenses. I try to do it like the same day.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay, great. All right, up next, we're going to have a discussion about the military banner program.
Here I am again.
You know something? Very excited about this because when I saw it was going to be on the agenda, I had just driven through Canton and they have banners hanging right on Washington Street in Canton. And I was like, as I was going, I was like, oh my God, what a great idea.
Striking.
And then boom, here we go. So very
Can I
excited about this.
Give you guys what I brought?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Oh, great, yeah. Dennis, we'll get one email to you, okay?
Yeah, I think I saw it on board docs too, so.
He had the breakdown, but he didn't have, you guys didn't get the whole packet.
So some of what I gave you is just informational so that you could kind of have an idea of what the plans are. Michelle Hamilton, Director of Veterans Services. I have Lauren with me today.
And I'm Amy LaBrache.
And Amy.
I live at 159 Mechanic Street still.
And Amy's been working with us on instituting this program. We looked at multiple organizations that do the banners and found that this company would be the best fit for us as far as the things that they offer and the ease of use. So, and the price too. It's quite reasonable. So for us, we're allowed to have, I think, 28 or 29 banners here in town. The size is appropriate for what we have. The information that's put on the banners is very specific per each veteran. It's a very easy-to-use system. The person themselves uploads the photos. The person themselves says yes to the verbiage. It then goes to us for a final approval. So it's a multi-level process. We're not in the office because we don't have the time to upload other people's pictures, make sure the verbiage is correct and the ranks and all of that. So that onus is on the individual that's sponsoring the banner. And then we have the overseeing power of that. We don't have to design a website for it. The company has that already in place. And they also have the capability of taking the monies for the banners themselves too. So it seems like they really, and I've seen the banners in other towns, and we actually have a sample banner to show you guys.
Can I just ask, are the banners, when they're done, are they all consistent in their look?
Yes,
Yeah, so
they
it's-
will all be consistent. That's what this sample banner is about.
And those are connecting to the light poles?
So at the top, it says, the town of, this way?
No, I'm sorry, I was talking.
Oh, sorry. It says the town of Foxborough. It would give the person's image a few things about their rank or their accomplishments, not everything. It's not intended for that. And then the back of the banner would have the town seal on it as well. We can have that. So they would all be uniform. The pictures would all be standardized, the same pixelations and stuff like that. So everybody would look the same, just like in uniform.
So, I mean, it would seem to me they're all going to be the same. They're all going to have that same back all the way around wherever you're going. Is there any concept of potentially just having them double
Yes.
used? So you
Yes.
could have two different instead of having.
Or you could have the
26.
same person on the front and the back, so that coming and going, you would be able to
Okay.
see that. So, yeah, that's a possibility. Yep. And we could have the town seal on the front rather than on the back if we wanted to.
Well, sort of piggyback off of Bill, we got 28 or 29. and
Yes.
I'm sure we have 100 veterans or more.
We sure do.
Are we going to cycle through? Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
So our hope
Yeah,
is
absolutely.
for this to continue each year. The first one will go up hopefully for Veterans Day, go through till Memorial Day. They come down, Founder's Day goes up, and then that'll give us an opportunity to work it and get the ones made, and then we can
And
replace
that
them.
timeline's not kind of written in stone, so,
Yeah.
there's other businesses we have to think about and other events and stuff like that, too. So that is going to depend on everybody's cooperation.
And we have spoken to Historical. I think that's really important to mention, if you wanted to talk
Yeah,
about that.
so he took Mark
Yeah.
took the sample and brought it before his committee, and they love the idea. So, and honestly, because we don't want to decide who gets a banner this year, it's going to be first come, first serve. They'll have to prove their military service with honorable discharge. So Lauren and I are both certified to be able to look at people's DD-214s and their private records. So we would ensure that, they're people of good moral fiber and have their positive military experience, so that we can, ensure that for the town.
And so if they go up this year, is it a one-year thing, or is it they'll go up next year at the same
So
time?
theirs would go up at this point in time, and then when a date was decided for the next year, we would have a whole different crop. So in essence, the families could have these, the town could display them someplace else during a certain time period. That would really be up to what everybody wanted to do.
That would probably make it difficult, though, to do a two-faced thing, because you couldn't give it to one.
Well, I think too, is there concern about, you don't know how many are going to apply, so you don't.
Especially the first time,
Yeah,
right,
so-
we have no idea. So, we have close to 1,000 veterans here in town. For the population of the town, that's significant. And that doesn't include people who are currently deployed or any of that, which is Gold Star families and all of that. So there's a lot more to the possibilities. So we don't know how well it will be received. We expect it will be overwhelmingly received, but that's because we're in the Veterans Department, and that's how we think about things.
I guess to piggyback onto Bill's thought, say you got 80 your first round, would you ever consider doing double, like one veteran on one side and one on the other, as to meet the demand, or is that not
I think
recommended?
the better plan is to have it double-sided with one person. That way, when we're done, and then we move on to the next crop. So say we do get 80 applications, and we're only able to take care of 30 people. The next group, first come, first serve, would be the next in line for the next time period. It's only fair. We all have our favorites, and I sure have a couple favorites that I'm rooting for. But, so, it's the only fair way to really do it.
I go to Bridgewater State every couple of weeks, and
Oh, they have so
Bridgewater-
many.
Isn't it incredible how many they have
So
downtown?
many. They have them on
Yeah.
every street, every light pole. They have them everywhere.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's wonderful to
Yep.
see. Good for you guys. Great idea.
As the mother of a veteran, thank you.
Oh, thank you so much.
I hope my
yeah.
son gets in one of the rounds.
I mean, we want to serve everyone, right? We don't
Yes.
want to turn anybody away. So it'll be an ongoing program for sure.
Great program. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
So, Michelle, one more time, what were the dates you guys were thinking about? So,
We would like to do them for Veterans Day.
yep, obviously.
And
Okay.
depending on everything else in town would determine the time frame. You know, Christmas is after that, and the downtown association may want things differently. So, I mean, look, we have to all work together, and that's kind of how I feel, so.
Okay, so I guess the other question I had was, because you mentioned that maybe you just, give it to the veteran or their family. Did you think about keeping them so that maybe at some point you would just circle around? Or you just
Recirculate
think
them?
because you have like 1,000 that you'll just never not
Yeah,
have
where would we
somebody?
keep them? Have you seen our office space?
Well, I think the other.
And they do
the
get
other side-
damaged.
Yeah, the other side of it is they're going to be up for.
Over
they're not
time,
made to
yeah,
last
I'm
forever,
sure.
so-
Yeah,
But I think
And,
it's
you know,
good
if
to
you
family.
store them in a basement, things aren't always as fresh as they were to begin with. And I think it'd be significant to the families. I think they would really appreciate it.
Yeah. Great.
Nobody else with any questions?
No.
Dennis,
Go
you have
for it.
anything?
No, I've driven through towns and have observed these, and it's really very nice, and what an honor for the veterans in a town.
Absolutely.
Great.
Thank you for the
Thank you.
support.
Yeah.
We have a
100%.
motion?
I don't think we
I
do.
don't, we don't have to vote, Are we voting on this?
It might
or-
not hurt to do a motion, since it is you are in control of the street, to just move that,
Yeah, so they're all set to go.
to authorize
Yeah.
them to move
Nobody has
forward
to
with
come
it.
back or anything.
All right, we'll throw out move to approve the Veterans Services Hometown Military Banner Program.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Mark, yes?
Bill, yes.
Stephanie, yes.
Debbie, yes?
Dennis, yes.
Awesome. Great. Now you're official.
Thank you so
you.
much.
Nice job.
Thank you.
Nice
Thank
job.
you.
Looking forward to it. All right, I think we have Paul up next, I think.
Yep.
Oh, 3 pages, that's right. Okay, next up we have audit report. Paul, I'm gonna botch, how do you say your last name?
Ivanovskis. You know, I was watching a meeting the other night and Dennis referred to me as Paul I, and that's been my whole life. So if you just want to say Paul I, that's fine.
All right. Well, that's what I was almost gonna say. I didn't want to offend you though. But I knew I
Trust me.
All right,
Hi, Paul.
so, okay.
So, yeah,
report.
audit committees. So, as you know, we undergo an annual audit. And on May 20th, a little while back, the audit committee, which does include Marie and Paige as ex officio members, met with the auditor, who's Robert Brown of Mendon, and he walked us through the audit. So it's about 85 or 90 pages of detail, but sort of the upshot of all this is there were no negative findings in the audit. So it was a clean audit. And I'd add on top of that Mr. Brown was very complimentary of Marie and her team. And that he talked at some length about the financial strength of our town, which I think impressed him, given he has a fair number of public clients that he works with. Dennis, would you add anything to that?
No, it's a very clean audit, and no significant findings at all, complimentary to management, a very clean management letter, and just across the board, a very good experience, a very positive experience.
I did think, go ahead. No, go ahead, Dennis.
And yes, you said it also, but again, this was really Marie's first solo time being responsible for the audit, and that was certainly a question with George leaving, and Paige knew, would we be able to make that transition and have a clean audit like this in the first year? And we certainly crossed that path, so.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I did think, Dennis, since there are some new members of the committee, I would just talk briefly about what an audit actually is for us. So In Massachusetts, they do not actually require municipal audits. They just strongly recommend them. And so what that means is there's no governing statutory rules about what an audit is. It's all whatever we put into our bylaws. So we do have a bylaw for audits that requires a municipal audit. So that's, if you're used to any sort of private sector accounting, it is somewhat like that kind of audit. It's looking to make sure there are no material deficiencies, or maybe even more important, no material misstatements. And so they'll actually take all of Marie's work and her team, which is done on a municipal accounting basis, and they'll restate it to generally accepted accounting principles, which is why we get 80 some odd pages of output, and just go through and make sure there's nothing materially wrong. The other thing they do is actually required by the Office of Management and Budget. So we get federal grants as a municipality, and if those grants exceed $750,000, which I imagine it did for a lot of municipalities during the ARPA years, there will be a separate or a second section to the audit that will look and make sure that the accounting of those grants was done correctly.
Okay, and Paul, so we do this audit yearly. Had it been a little while since we had been, was there a little break somewhere? I just so even people at home know, why do I feel like we decided to do an audit like as Bill was leaving and we were, at the time we were hiring? I thought there was at some point, or did we switch?
It's more complicated than that. So, okay. Marie, I see you're on. Jump in if I get anything wrong. But the background is we've done an audit every year. And again, it's part of the bylaws, so there's not an option on that.
Okay.
We're always going to have an auditor in. But there was an audit committee, but I'm just going to be blunt here. I don't think it met for a while, or at least when I go try to find the minutes, I can't find anything after 2016. So that's the first thing. My guess is nothing got put in front of you as part of that. The second is so our job as the audit committee is to recommend things to you, the select board, and that includes things like reviewing possible auditors, recommending changes to the audit process, which we recommended a change 2 years ago, which was Dennis's idea to look at payroll processing. And so we do things like that as an audit committee. But we had a lot of conversation, Stephanie, that you probably saw a couple of years ago about the fact that we've had the same auditor for an amount of time that the auditor himself could not remember. And so I asked him, how long have you been auditing the town of Foxborough? And he said, I don't know, but I predate Randy. So if you think back, what that means same company's been auditing us since at least 2003.
Okay.
And so go ahead.
And actually now I think it's refreshing my memory. I think we were going to hold off because did you guys just kind of regroup? You hadn't been meeting, and that's kind of when you came on, Dennis, Larry, Bernard, and then you kind of guys started meeting on a regular basis. And I think that was the discussion. I think, remember, Bill said maybe we'll push it off just till you guys kind of regrouped. And I think maybe that was a discussion about maybe going with another company, just because do I recall that it's just a good idea? Was it maybe every 3 years, 5 years, just to swap it up, just in case someone picks up something that somebody's missing?
So in private sector, Dennis knows this too. I've never gone more than, so big background, Stephanie. I used to get audited every year in 15 different countries. I ran audits, so I'm fairly familiar with private sector auditing, okay? And Dennis is as well, having run a healthcare company. And so we're used to a certain cadence of how this works. And 5 or 6 years would be, for me, about where I would start looking. And the state itself has a recommendation that you look every 5 to 8 years. And so just to put a different lens on what you just described, because it's mostly right, we recommended 2 years ago that we go ahead and do an RFP, or as it turns out, an RFQ for a new auditor. And Bill pushed back pretty strongly, particularly because he knew that we'd be changing town managers. And so eventually a contract got signed. We were not part of that, so I'm not really sure what the process was there. And so now we have another auditor, but that auditor's term is going to expire at the end of fiscal year 24.
Okay. I know I had bits and pieces of it.
We appeared in front of you, Stephanie, for like 10 minutes a year ago. So the fact that you remember that much is impressive.
Good. Well, and you know something, you know, I served on AdCom with a few of the people, and I know you guys all have such a strong financial background, and I think we have a great group, you know, and you guys are meeting on a more regular basis, and you know, thank you for you know, joining the committee and you know, helping us just to you know, keep an eye on the financials. You know,
I appreciate
kudos
that.
to you too, Marie.
Yeah, if I could just jump in, because this is important to bring this before the board. So I've worked both in the public sector and the private sector, and there's not a whole lot of difference. Maybe, you know, the way the audit is done and some of the rules are different, but the best practice is 5 or 6 years, you need to change your auditors. You know, people get too cozy, you know, they get too familiar with each other, too friendly with each other. I've seen no evidence of that happening at Foxborough, but that's why there's a best practice of 5 or 6 years. You need to change your auditors, and that's the best practice. And we've been working towards that, and I think it's going to culminate in us finally, Marie's going to speak to an RFQ that will be going out to change our auditor. And again, no statement about the competence or effectiveness of our current audit firm. It's just really, this is something you need to do as an organization. Even if it's only 90 million, you know, you still need to do it and take it very, very seriously. Every now and then, you know, I think it was Grafton recently, every now and then something shows up in the news where there's embezzlement or you name it that goes on. And where does it hit? It hits the board, the select board, if something like that happens. So it goes to the heart of select board responsibilities to make sure these areas are really buttoned down and there's a consistent process that gets reviewed on an ongoing basis.
It's a great summary.
Yeah. Well, obviously, there's a reason why there's a best practice that, you know, because stuff can happen. Bill, you're a big finance guy. You have any questions for the guys?
No, I think it's perfectly understandable the way they're taking it. I mean, the time frame makes sense to me. I would say 8 would be a real push, but, you know, 5 to 6 years would be relatively normal.
No,
Anything?
Nope.
Anything?
Nope.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. I'm going to hang around for the next part.
All right. Okay, Marie, you're up.
Hello. I'll be talking briefly about essentially because we do have an audit committee and one of their duties is to recommend to you guys basically the selection of and the scope of services for an auditor. So because of that, we essentially will be doing a request for qualification similar to the town council process, whereas auditing services and town council services are exempt from Chapter 30B, but that doesn't preclude you from essentially conducting a competitive and open process. So we have a timeline. So Brandon Roberts, our assistant finance director, put together this timeline. So we would basically be, so we would have a draft procurement document ready for the audit committee's review sometime in the middle of August. We would have essentially a month or so to finalize the document and essentially put it out in early October. And then essentially the responses would be due at the start of November. And at the end of that, so we would essentially, as part of that draft, we would include an estimated schedule of events, you know, that would provide a more structured process for deadlines. The goal behind doing it so early is so that we have a good budgeted figure. Right now, I think we have our auditing budget is $40,000. That's a bargain. Most of these, there's a handful of auditing firms, and I wouldn't be surprised if our budget doubles for fiscal year 26. What happens often, so Bob Brown's team, so he has a small firm, the same team that comes out, you know, year after year. Some of the larger firms, you know, such as Powers and Sullivan, back in the days they used to be known as Melanson and Heath. But in recent years, a lot of these firms have been buying each other out, so there's only a handful of firms available. Some of the larger firms, what they'll do is every 5-6 years or so, they'll just change the team that they send out to your town. So essentially, you end up with a new team. It's almost as if you had a new firm. It'll be interesting to see what ends up coming out of that. But basically, because we have the audit committee, we can't do a request for a proposal process, which would require that our chief procurement officer make the award. So essentially, like I said, we would run the process just as we did with the town council services, working hand in hand with the audit committee. Ultimately, we would present them with the results. They would go through and go through the submittals, make their decision, and then make a recommendation to you as a board. And then ultimately, it's up to you guys to choose on a firm. So, and we have Bob Brown. He will be doing our fiscal year 24 audit. That will be their final audit. So we're looking at, we would need to have a firm in place for next spring. That way, when we get into June and July, they could come out and start their field work for the 25 audit. That's basically, that's how the process will run. Any questions?
I'm good.
Good.
Dennis?
No, no questions.
All right, sounds good. Sounds like a plan. Thank you, Marie.
Yep, you're welcome. Have a good night.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you, Paul. Aye. Okay, up next is our ADA self-evaluation. Hey, Mark.
Actually, going to take you back for one quick second to gush a little bit. So Michelle, Lauren, and Amy were up here a little while ago. So I know Amy's been working on Hometown Hero banners for a long time, and Michelle's been here for 2.5 months and been able to get this done. So proud of them all. It's a great, thank you so much for supporting it. It's going to be great. So taking back to the ADA self-evaluation and transition plan, a little bit of background. Paige applied for a grant last fall for $250,000 that was awarded to the town of Foxborough on February 1st. At that point, she was a little bit busy, so she farmed it out to me. I was able to help with Kristen. We were able to do an RFP with the Finance Department. The grant was coming from Massachusetts Office on Disability. We prepared an RFP immediately. We contracted with Bureau Veritas in early March, and Michael's on, right? I don't see him on the screen. Okay, good. So Mike Cuniff is the representative from Bureau Veritas. He had a very, very tight schedule. We needed to complete this grant by June 30th. And Michael, want to take it away from here?
I can. Thank you, Mark. I do have a short presentation. I believe I can share my screen here. Probably move through it in 10 or 15 minutes or so and then open it up for questions. Thank you. As mentioned, my Cuniff, I resort 40 side road in Charlton, Massachusetts, and a program manager for Bureau Veritas. Currently joining you from the Virginia Beach Convention Center. I had a sort of a last minute trip that came up, so I apologize in advance for any background noise that you hear. But I found a quiet corner. So just a little bit of background information. The self-evaluation and transition plan is a requirement under the ADA that was signed back in 1990. And it's been a while. Foxborough is not alone. We're doing a lot of these. There's a lot of what I'll call Title II entities. Title II is state and local governments. There's a lot of those Title II entities that haven't completed this part yet, even though we're going on, closing in on 30, for 35 years almost at this point. So that's actually a requirement by law. And I'll get into some of the things that we looked at. The plan itself that we have is, a lot of the information is very detailed, hundreds of pages in certain cases. So this is more of a high level look at the findings and the strategy that we put together. So the self-evaluation itself, that's a look at what, couple different things, right? It's going to be the administrative type programs, policies, and procedures that the town has. There's an assessment of the built environment, which is the town-owned buildings and parks. And the third piece that we included in here on the slide is the what we call PROW, or the public rights of way. That portion was actually completed several years ago as part of a different assessment. We did take a quick look at that in the review, and it is referenced in the current plan that we have drafted. With that, I'll jump into some of the bits and pieces here of each. So we did, I'll take a second to thank Mark and Kristen for their help too. It was a pleasure working with them both, as well as the Commission on Disabilities. I had an opportunity to meet with them a couple of times via Zoom. As far as timeline, as Mark mentioned, I think they were awarded the grant back in February. It went out to RFP. We did a kickoff at the Senior Center back in March. Got right to work on the assessment of the built environment. And that, I did talk with Mark briefly earlier today and go through some of the detailed individual reports that we create for each site. So that process happened between March and May of this year. Concurrently with that was the evaluation of the policies and programs and website, and that's more of the administrative, the non-physical barriers to access that may exist. In May and into early June, we had an online survey that was sort of promoted by Mark's team, as well as the Commission on Disability, to solicit input from the public to sort of help inform the overall strategy of the transition plan. Just last month, we had a draft of the plan created, which is sort of a roll-up of all the individual sites that we looked at, as well as the policy and program review. Tonight, we're showing some of the high-level findings to the select board. And then looking forward, one thing we want to, I think, point out is we've redone these for several municipalities where they'll go through the process, complete the transition plan, and then it gets filed away and nobody looks at it. So we have some pretty good ways to make sure this is a living document. It's able to be updated easily and modified as needs change. So more on that later, but we'll go to the next one here. So some of the results, I'll jump into the sort of the non-physical stuff first. Was more of a review of the policies and procedures. We'll take a quick look at the findings from the assessment of the built environment. And I mentioned the public right-of-way assessment was previously done, I believe, in 2020. So this one, I don't like this slide. Admittedly, it's a lot of text. There's not too many fun graphics on here. But the portion on the right-hand side is essentially a list of the primary services that the community has, as well as grievance procedure, ADA notice, website, different things like that. And essentially all of those were reviewed. in combination with our own research, we had a questionnaire that was circulated. And the result of that is a series of findings and recommendations. There's not a cost line associated with those because there's no, structural changes, but that is included in the first part of the transition plan. And the portion to the left is just some sort of high-level recommendations that we've included in the report. For the second part of the self-evaluation, which is the built environment, we had one of our, actually two different assessors looking at 17 town-owned buildings and parks. Originally, the list was 20. We combined some of the Mill Street facilities into a singular report. So I think one version of this slide had 20 on the list. But we're looking at, it says interior and exterior elements. It's a very detailed assessment. I shared one of these, Mark and I took a look at it earlier today. If, for example, if there's a coat hook that's located, 3 or 4 inches above what a compliant reach range would be, it would make it into the report. There'd be a specific regulatory standard associated with it. Location, a resolution statement which explains what it needs to be compliant, as well as a cost line. And those are all included because they're actually required as part of the transition plan. So lots of detail, way too much to kind of dive into here in the 15 or 20 minutes, but essentially each individual facility gets its own standalone report, and those findings are part of what helps inform the overall transition plan for the town. The note about barrier priorities, that actually comes from the 1991 ADA standards, and there's certain priorities that are set forth. In other words, they want to have people be able to arrive on site, park, and get to the main entrance, followed by circulation paths inside, and then restrooms, and then other non-primary functions. And I'll stop here for just a second. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to jump in. I tend to get, we're passionate about this, and I tend to get long-winded. So please feel free to jump in and ask any questions. I'm running through it fast, I understand. Another component of the overall transition plan process is to include input from the general public, from the community. This slide here is just a couple of the questions that were asked as part of the survey. And some of the more important ones, what we want to do is identify where people are frequenting, which facilities, which parks see the most, the highest level of public access. And the reason for that is that we would want to have those particular sites happen in an earlier phase. So for example, places like the Foxboro Common and the town hall would take precedence over, a storage facility somewhere that sees very limited public use. So the overall thought process is the first things that are addressed have the highest impact to the community.
What's under the 30, that block there? Is it public schools or is it public
safety?
Public safety, okay.
Yeah. Sorry, it get blocked out here by a little percentage marker. And then there's a couple here too that are end up being combined with the chapel, the rec hall, and the town pool. These are actually all part of a singular report now that we called Mill Street.
So were the public schools not part of this?
Correct. Yeah, that was not part of the RFP.
That's correct. And that's actually extremely common. because the schools are usually their own district. And we actually do quite a few of these for school districts as a standalone transition plan. So getting into some of the transition planning numbers and phasing, following the previous slide, I can jump back and forth, but essentially the ones that scored higher as far as public use where people are visiting the most, we tried to place those in the first phase, followed by some of the lesser frequented parks, and then lastly, some of the places that have, honestly, just a lesser amount of public use. Unfortunately, not everything can be priority one because then nothing's a priority. So that's sort of the overall strategy that we're looking at. There is a higher number of individual barriers that were identified in phase one as well as a higher dollar amount. Although, as we look at this, there's nothing in the ADA or the law that says it has to be in a certain amount of phases or years or anything like that. Just that you're actively working toward it. There has been some precedent in some court cases, unfortunately, but so what we did was we broke it out over a 10-year or 10 fiscal year time frame with priority one or phase one, spanning about 5 years. And there's also some overlap there as some of these may require design and there's no, it's quite common to see some overlap on some of these projects. At the same time, a lot of these individual barriers that you see, these quantities here, could be quite easily fixed. Some of them are just maybe furniture related. We looked at one earlier with Mark and I looked at a wheelchair stall door that was not self-closing. And it probably was at one point, but it's just one of those maintenance items. So that's sort of the detail that lives in each report and what informs this overall phasing structure, costs, and individual line items. This is the last slide. So, at this point, essentially we'll be turning over the project to, Mark and his team, as well as the ADA coordinator, Scott Shippey, I believe his name is, to sort of oversee any barrier removal, or remediation efforts in the future. I did earlier this afternoon, Mark and I spoke. There is some software that we have that I think will help sort of track and monitor these types of projects, but lots more discussion on that. So that really concludes the presentation, but more than happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
So before you ask any questions, so my next step is in this asset calc, which is the program that Mike's talking about, is assign users. So Libby, other department heads, Tony and Carl from facilities, Bill, obviously yourself, can go in and take a look. So, for example, what Mike was talking about earlier, the coat hook on the bathroom door, Libby can take a look at it and say that coat hook has already been fixed, or something. She can look and say, oh, actually, we've already fixed that. That's something that's already been addressed. Or even that bathroom door that might just need a spring attached rather than an entire bathroom door. Obviously, the cost includes the entire bathroom door, might just something that one of the custodians comes in and just tightens a spring, and that's the end. But that's my next step, is to assign users logins and get them out to the individuals that would be responsible for any sort of future maintenance.
Is the total report going to be on the town website?
Yep.
Somewhere at
Yep.
some time?
Yes.
When?
When do you think that we could be able to have that up, Mike? The full report?
That is, so we can do a couple things. You actually have the transition plan in its current state. What I would recommend is, maybe we set aside some time to review it one last time. Then we can post it, for review. And then, possibly at a future meeting, it could be voted to be adopted. There's no requirement for that to happen. It's just something that we see that's done often as a motion, but again, there's really no requirement of that. It's only that it exists and that it's being acted upon.
So I guess my first question is, how did we do compared to other communities? Oh, just wondering, did we fail miserably, or we're in the middle somewhere? When you do this for other communities, where did we fall?
Yeah, so I would say, it's very, that's a tough question to answer. I would say that it wasn't a huge list of sites that we looked at, and a handful of them were pretty new and generally pretty compliant. With that said, our process is very detailed. Everything's measured. So we're picking up things that are a fraction of a % off. Coat hooks, for example, or a wheelchair style door that no longer closes. So those things are technically not compliant. However, the space is still generally accessible. So I would say that, overall, newer buildings tend to be more accessible because they were designed and built after the standards were in place. Older buildings, were, and I guess I can take an extra minute here and explain the why behind that. Title II of the ADA covers state and local governments. Title III is those private businesses with public accommodations. The standards themselves are identical. And even CMR, the Massachusetts Accessibility Code, it would apply the same to both. But the challenge for Title II entities is that their programs and services have to be accessible to the public, regardless of the age of the building. So when we get into older sites that are predate the standards, those tend to have a lot of challenges with them. So I'd say that to answer your question, this was a long answer. I apologize. Probably about average. Unless we see, a whole municipality with all newer facilities, there's generally a lot of things that we identify as barriers to access.
And Stephanie, you could probably figure it out. Not everything is egregious. Some can just be a coat hook in the wrong spot. It's not the end of the world. It's not like it's a handicap placard that's not being properly displayed. It's just something that can be adjusted in 5 minutes.
Yeah. So I guess the other big question I have is, I've got a child with a disability, so I spend a lot of time in bathroom stalls. I didn't know there were any bathroom stalls that closed on their own. Is that what you said? They close on their own?
Wheelchair.
A wheelchair stall in a multi-user restroom, the door not only is supposed to self-close, there should be pull hardware on both sides of the door so that someone can close it, because as many of these as we do, that's a pretty common finding that we see.
So are they broken, or they just weren't installed? That's what I mean. I go into the big stall, especially now.
Yeah, so broken
I've never
or
seen a
worn
door
out.
close on its own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they have a shelf life, to be quite honest. I think at the time of installation, it probably worked, but it eventually wore out. And that's most often the
When you
case.
said that, I was like, oh my goodness, I don't think I've ever seen one close on its own.
And now that we're on our way to complete plan, we'll actually be able to apply through that same Office of Disability for grants to complete a lot of these projects. There was one this spring that was $250,000 that we were ineligible for because we didn't have the full plan yet. But in the future, that's the next step.
So the grant was just to do the
Correct. Yeah, this study was just to do the grant, and even when we had extra money because the Bureau Veritas came in under, we reached out to Office of Disability, and they said, absolutely not. You have to use this specifically just for the plan. That's it. So in the future, we'll be able to apply for funds to actually complete some of the task list items.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just got texted. I'm going to ask a question, but I don't really understand it.
Sure.
But ask the consultant, is this report using the ADA at AAB regulations? Are you familiar?
Yes, yes. So the ADA 2010 standards, those are federal, part of the federal law. They're the minimum standard. 521 CMR is the Massachusetts state accessibility code. So what the individual reports and the transition plan includes is whichever one is more restrictive or more stringent. So as a baseline, it's the ADA 2010 standards. In a lot of cases, Massachusetts has requirements that exceed those ADA standards. And so that is also part of the report. I think that's what the question was asking. So the AAB is the Architectural Access Board. And so that's what we do as normal practice, and also what we did for this particular program in Foxborough.
Thank you.
Yep. Great, so I think we're all looking forward to seeing the plan.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, sure.
Stay
Well,
tuned.
Just a comment. I don't think people do it on purpose, but until you have somebody that is in your family, I drove Bill crazy because, Bill Keegan, our former town manager, because I came up here to do something, and I came walking in the spots here, and I didn't need the spot, I was parking, but the spots, we had snow, and there was so much snow left in the spots, and that's just coming back around, and I called Bill, I took a picture, I sent it to him, and he said, well, I said, Bill, the snow was gone yesterday. I said, you just have to make a mental note that you have to go back. And then, of course, being a little bit of a pain that I am, I decided to go around. I went to the public safety, went to a couple of schools, and there were so many spots with snow still in them, not fully cleared. And I'm looking at the rest of the parking lot, and we're down to black, So, and people, parking, I was up at the schools, and my niece was playing soccer, and I'm walking, and somebody's getting in the car, and you're not supposed to ask anybody what their disability is or question it, but I don't see a placard. And, I just said, that's an ADA spot. And she said, well, nobody was there, So, I think just as a community, I think we have a pretty respectful community here. I know that's probably driving you crazy, and probably hear it. For me, I have two. I have a husband with physical disabilities and an autistic child. And so, I think for the most part, we're a very good community. We have, great people standing up for it. And I appreciate, Paige, I appreciate you getting the grant and us, moving forward, because some people I don't think really realize what some of these things mean to, a coat hook. You might think, oh, it's only an inch off. Well, if you're in a wheelchair, can you reach that coat hook? So I appreciate the time that your company put in. Mark, I appreciate your time, Paige, for applying for the grant, because it's very important to a lot of people that these things are in compliance. I kind of wish that the schools get done, just in general for the schools. I mean, now you'll be stepping away, but I think the schools do a pretty good job of, but we have, some of the buildings are older, and, same thing, but anyhow, much appreciated.
Thank you. We can start
Yeah,
checking things
and I'd
up.
just like to acknowledge Mark, because this definitely was not something he needed to do, and I really appreciate you stepping up.
Thank you.
'Cause we got, like I said, the grant, we applied in September, and the funding didn't come through till February, and we were told we had to be done by the end of June. And the consultant can to attest to, it was a crunch, and it was a push. So thank you, and Kristen, because you really stepped up. So.
And I'll give Brandon a push too. So we knew that we got it on February 1st. I think the RFP was out and published on February 2nd. And we were prepped, knew that things might be coming. They did a lot of work in anticipation of a maybe. Brandon and Olivia did a lot of work, just anticipation. So really appreciate that too.
A good team effort.
Yeah, really
Thank
great.
you.
Hey, Dennis, I can't see you, but I'm sure you can hear us. Do you have anything that you want to add, or any questions?
Well, having run a couple of large organizations, I've always taken the ADA very, very seriously, right from its inception. So this kind of assessment is extremely valuable to an organization, and then to follow it up with a grant that can actually bring in funds to remedy the priorities that come from this plan. I think that's a really good approach, and look forward to maybe a year from now, Mark, when you'll probably still be in charge here, to what that plan is and how the next grant is gonna finance, the findings from this assessment.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very interesting. Thanks.
Good night, thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. All right. Okay, FY25 town goals.
Yes, so I sent those out last week, and they're in your board docs. So these are generally the same as last year. Marie is on, just in case we had any questions about GFOA, but you might recall those that were on the board last year. We adopted them, also adopted these types of goals. We did go through, Marie, Brandon, and I sat down and reviewed the goals, updated them as needed, but generally speaking, they're meant to be overarching, sort of town-wide goals, and they don't tend to change very often, because every year we're always seeking alternative revenue sources. We're always trying to improve operations, so they're generally very general, and so that's why they don't change much. But we did add a few things in here. Strategic planning effort, recognizing that we want to start that. We were able to update the communication specialist, some of her roles. We took out MBTA communities. We acknowledged the upcoming update to the master plan. I added in concerns related to rail activity. We do have folks still complaining about the CSX trains and the idling, so I wanted to add that in because that seems to be something that flares up every year or two. So in general, we feel comfortable. The one question I suppose I had was about with respect to the review of the town charter. We don't actually have a town charter, but we all know what we're talking about. That and the prior board, there were a couple members that brought this forward and wanted to focus on that. So I guess I would ask this board if that's something that you're interested in evaluating and looking at, or where you stand on quote-unquote charter / special act, if there's anything on your agendas with respect to that.
Yeah, because I think if I recall, it came up like right as Bill was leaving, and we thought it wasn't a good time to throw it on the town manager coming in, and now you're going on a year. Do you feel like it's a good time for us to, I think I remember the conversation, this is going to be a lot of work.
It is a big,
Yeah. A lot of work.
I don't know that you want to do strategic planning and that at the same time. It's a lot, but I didn't want to omit it without the board, choosing. So I don't know. I think that was a Seth priority, and again, he was sort of the driver behind it. I just want to see if there's a driver on this board, if there's anything troubling. My only thing would be the whole Town Manager Act talks about he, but I can live with that. No, I can live with that for now. That would be someday, maybe we could change that. But beyond that, I think operationally things are working well. I think we'd be better served working towards strategic than focusing on that effort, but obviously that's always something we could focus on.
No, I would tend to agree with Paige on that. The charter thing is a multi-year process. It's not something that totally changes the way you operate, and where I think the strategic plan, quite honestly, has a much higher status of things that need to get done. Once you get a good strategic plan in place and you're moving forward, it's easier to modify and move forward with. Nothing else to do, okay, the charter's a great thing to go after, but many communities don't have it. It's not like it's one of 30 type of thing. It's a large majority of the Commonwealth does not have that. So,
Dennis?
Totally agree with Bill. Prioritize strategic plan. We've seen a couple of departments that have done their own internal strategic plan, and it's provided a lot of value. I think it was the fire department and the police department.
Library.
So it has a lot of value, and you do it as a whole organization. that value gets multiplied. I was just, Paige, I was just, how do these goals relate to the town manager's goals? You have your goals.
They're
So these
consistent
are
with,
the-
but they're more general. Mine were very specific. As you know, they included not just sort of the overarching, but actual implementation and timing. So they're consistent with, but not, they kind of represent a more general approach to them, so that they are consistent.
But are you responsible for these goals as well, or is it the select board?
But all of us, yeah, we're all responsible, and then the other parties, but the town manager's office certainly is, the lead on this, so. But like I said, I mean, things like the alternative revenue sources and grants, that's a given. I'm going to announce 3 new grants tonight. Capital, we're always, so I think these are general enough that we do these just by rote. We're always working towards these goals and every action we take. So it doesn't feel like an extra lift. It's kind of documenting what we're already doing.
Great.
Yeah, and, you've put down what the departments are supporting, and so I think it was a great list.
Yep.
So would you like me to remove that last strategic one? We'll leave that off? Okay. And just like, for example, the 360-degree feedback loop, Paige Eppolito's already doing that. Before we did performance evaluations this June, she sat down with everybody in town hall and did that 360 review. So we are, it doesn't have a formal label yet, but she is making sure that all the feedback, we got feedback from every level, and then that was brought forward to the department heads for the reviews with me. So we are incorporating those type of things just in our day-to-day operations. Great, so could we have a motion? To maybe adopt them with the removal of the final one?
Move to approve the FY25 town goals as discussed and amended.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Mark, yes?
Bill, yes.
Stephanie, yes?
Debbie, yes.
Dennis, yes.
Awesome.
Great, thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Paige. All right, town manager's update.
Okay. As I mentioned, we had 3 grant announcements come in this week, which is exciting because they're good grants. So Mass Gaming Commission came through. I believe this is phase 8 that we're working on for our tourism. And so now it's, I think I've mentioned it before, we've been building the foundation. We've been doing things like creating little commercials and video, print ads. And now what we're going to start being able to hopefully buy some of that. And we might not see it around here because we don't necessarily need to advertise in our region, although sometimes we throw things up on the billboards because they're free. But what we're trying to do is advertise in other markets, maybe New Hampshire, New York, Connecticut, where it's still a drive, but they think of the Tri-Town region as a destination. And certainly with World Cup coming, our marketing consultant is managing that for us. So this is something that we do have a consultant handling it, which is great. She's paid through the grant, and but we are starting to see, I got a 30-minute, 60-minute, and a 90-minute video clip last month, and I was able to see it and see sort of the way they're advertising the region. So that's exciting. I just got notification that Mass Gaming will be coming out here in October. I have a call on Thursday to discuss. They want to do a site visit. I don't know what that means, but stay tuned. I'll let you know. So they are going to visit us and probably want to see our big 3. It's a cooperative effort kind of touting the resources of Rentham Premium Outlets, Plain Ridge Park, which is the whole reason we get this grant from Mass Gaming, and then Patriot Place Gillette. So those are our big 3, but we're trying to use them to also, we have an inventory of all the businesses, all the restaurants, and we have on our website, visit FPW, you'll see there's itineraries if you're an outdoors person, if you're a family, if you're a couple, we have itineraries and various suggested places to visit. So it's exciting. It's slow rolling for me because I want to get it done all right away, but we're starting to see sort of the fruits of all the labor. Congressman Auchincloss' office informed us that the Foxborough Fire Department has been awarded $680,000 in grants through their Assistance to Firefighter grants. So I believe this is going to be used to replace air packs. Sorry, Chief Keller, if I got that wrong. But it's basically to benefit the fire personnel and also the residents. So we're thrilled with that. Thank you to Congressman Auchincloss. And then just this, as of yesterday, we're allowed to announce that we got an FY24 Municipal Local Cyber Grant Program, a grant for multi-factor authentication through Aaron and our IT department, and that's for $31,125. So those are all great. It's a good time right now for grants, and I had one after the other. So starting to keep a list so that we could compile it at the end of the year and get a good handle on what we collect. In other good news, this is a Katie win, and I might have mentioned this previously, but so the public knows, we had a surplus of $41,041 after all the credits through our insurance program at Maya. Katie she gets insulted sometimes when I say it, but I mean it as a full compliment, relentless. I think Bill can attest to that. I mean, because if you take certain classes or do trainings or various mechanisms, you can get percentages off your insurance rates. So we basically almost maxed out at this point, as certainly on the town side. So that represents a $41,000+ savings. So great job, Katie and team. The funniest joke is last year you took a active shooter training or some sort of defensive driving, and they called you out on it because she was like, I'll take it, but then it turns out you have to be in the police department to do it. But kudos to Katie for trying to get that percentage off.
Could have made you a special officer.
So, Maura Buckley's doing a fabulous job with our strategic communications plan. We actually have a draft out, and we have 3 peer reviewers reviewing it, and I hope to bring that forward to the board for their review within the next month, so stay tuned for that. She's also been working behind the scenes on creating templates for agendas, meeting minutes. She's now coming up with ways she's working very well with the departments to sort of standardize some of the operations, and even little things which I'm guilty of is getting a sign up to have her come to an event. I'm always like, I'm on my way out the door, I'm like, oh, Maura, do you want to come? So, she needs to plan for these things. So it's great. She's starting to organize her operations, and it's been great to see. And again, she's doing this she's leaning on other professionals and really leading the way. So we're very appreciative of Maura's effort. The Foxborough Common Business Collaborative is handing out welcome bags to new residents. So the bunch of the businesses around town have put together the bags, and I have a sample up in the office. But basically, certain real estate agents know that these are for welcoming to the new residents. So that's a neat opportunity. They've been working on that for about a year, and it's now working. And just so everybody knows, the Foxborough Common Business Collaborative is having one of their evening networking meetings tomorrow night. I'll be there from 5 to 7 at Foxboro Cable. So that's a great opportunity for local businesses to get together. And we usually meet at 7:30. Well, now we just moved it till 8 a.m. The second Wednesday of every month. But every quarter we do an evening meeting, which is delightful. And we do find that we get different people coming. So it's been a great opportunity to get to know a lot of the business owners and in the community. From a human resources perspective, this is already out of date, I realize. We have a DPW account coordinator position available due to a departure. We always have the water technician and the flagger. And then today I saw that the engineer is up. The water department, water and sewer, got permission at town meeting to fund a junior engineer. I believe it's junior. And I saw that pop up today. So there is a position open there. So check out Town of Foxborough's job opportunities under Human Resources on the website. For construction updates, Walnut Street, I think we all see how that's going. I mean, today I was on the far right. Sometimes you're in the middle, but they are moving fast on the road improvements. And then I happened to drive by yesterday and noticed that the tower is starting for the elevator in the building, so they've gone vertical. So that project is moving quickly, and I think Foxborough Police is doing a great job managing the traffic out there. I thought it was going to be very inconvenient, and it really hasn't been bad. So hats off to them.
Remind me, what's the rough date for for the first phase opening?
I think it's the end of next year.
End of
2025, yes. And I will say the Foxborough Housing Authority has put something on their website. It's called Walnut Knoll. It doesn't yet have full information on how to apply, but they're starting to provide notice that this is an opportunity coming up. So if anybody's curious, they're the entity you check in with, and that website will be where you'll keep up with the dates on when to start applying, because it will be a lottery. We anticipate a high demand. West and Mill Street, we had a question from a resident, and I took the email that Chris wrote. So it's scheduled to have the road milled on August 2nd. It'll likely take 2 days, and then so they'll probably have to work through August 5th as well. And then Chris is hoping they'll be able to complete the paving in 1 day, which would likely be the week of August 12th. So as we get closer to the date and they're confirmed there's no delays, the social media will be updated with updates on West and Mill. So I know all the residents out there have been very patient. I am working on the folks that are now cursing me about Market Street and Rock Hill. We're pushing that as well. The challenge there is we work under a contract called Surge, which is basically a collaborative where we get lower pricing by working in this group. The problem is there's like one sidewalk contractor, one paver, so all the towns are competing. So Chris and Lance are fighting to get our position in there, and we are working towards this season. I practically begged them last week to really push for that, because I know the folks at Rock Hill and Market have waited a long time. And construction, I believe Doug King is hoping to open that final phase of apartments on August 1st. So it's time, but again, we're competing with a lot of communities and a limited resource. On our website, I won't read all this, but National Grid is getting ready to do some maintenance, and it's going to involve soil boring. So they have to do some tree trimming and mowing brush. It's going to go August through December. On our website, under What's New, is a contact for National Grid. So if anybody has specific questions, I suggest you reach out to, his name's Joseph Carroll, Stakeholder Management. So it's just joseph.carroll1@nationalgrid.com. That's his email. And then we also were notified by Mass DOT that bridge washing and cleaning operations on the I-495 corridor will be beginning. I think we've all seen that in years past, or maybe that was painting, but it can be noisy at times if you live near there, and they tend to work overnight. Although, no, on this one it says work will occur 7 to 3:30, so that's good. It won't be overnight. Subject to change based on expected traffic. Oh, wait, potential night hours 8 to 5:30, so all the time apparently. Whenever they decide, they'll be doing that. So you'll see work beginning with setups on secondary roads, and then we'll progress up to I-95 in the future, so it might change. So stay tuned. As we get information, we will let everybody know. We always Maura's been real good about trying to put that information out. And then we have a few town property permits. Agent Orange Candlelight Vigil is going to be held on August 10th from 5:30 to 8:30. The Boyden Library End of Summer Reading Bash is on August 17th from 11 to 1. The FHS Girls Volleyball Car Wash is August 24th from 10 to 2 at Town Hall. Stakes are high to raise awareness for accidental overdose. It's scheduled for August 24th to the 31st. I assume, is that on the Common?
Yes.
That's on the Common, sorry. And then the Veterans Services will hold a POW MIA vigil on September 20th at 11 a.m. till the 21st at noon, and also on the Common. And that's all I have.
Okay. All right, on to 76 Main Street. We're going to vote to sign off on the purchase of 76 Main for our new community center.
Yes, we are still working on that. We're still aiming for an August 1st date. The attorneys need two things. They need our town meeting certification, which we have, and then this vote by this board, and then that will go over to our real estate attorney, and then we'll be able to let the escrow agent know and continue to progress this forward. So Bill and I talked last week about sort of the steps that need to be taken, and the facilities team and the building committee, they're hard at work on planning for the next steps.
Okay, so this is if anyone else has any other discussion, I mean, we kind of know what we're doing here, and we're just going to vote, and then after the meeting, sign this, and we're good to go. Dennis, do you have anything?
No.
We can maybe,
4 signatures is sufficient. It'll be fine.
well, okay,
Yeah.
okay, I was gonna say, I could always, run it to his house.
We'd rather
if
get
we
it off to
wanted
the attorney and get this
Yeah,
going, so
okay.
I think 4
All
would
right.
be good.
Sorry, Dennis, we're not gonna have you John Hancock.
Okay.
All right, I hereby move that the Select Board purchase the land known as 76 Main Street, Foxborough, Massachusetts, from the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints for $2,500,000 as authorized pursuant to Article 15 of the May 13th, 2024 Foxborough Town Meeting, to be held under the care, custody, and control of the Select Board, and to further to authorize that Chair Steph A. McGowan to execute and enter into any and all documents necessary to effectuate the purchase of said property.
Second.
Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Mark, yes.
Bill, yes.
Stephanie, yes.
Debbie, yes.
Dennis, yes.
All right, great, that's good. Good news, we're almost there, folks. Okay,
Doc has an update on this.
I have an update.
Okay.
On the open meeting complaint, I have got a text from Pat Higgins. He's withdrawing the complaint. He just reread the minutes, and he didn't catch the notation that Dennis had left. So when Dennis was remote, the votes were roll call, and after he left, voice votes. And that was the complaint. He's sending this withdrawal to both Steph and Katie also.
Okay,
So we don't have to
perfect.
discuss.
okay,
Good.
oh, great. Okay, select board update. I have nothing at all. Normally, I put a little something out of my hat. I really don't have anything. It's been kind of quiet. Anybody have anything that they want to add for?
It's been quiet.
No,
Yeah,
just hot.
very hot. Exactly. Check in on your senior neighbors. Make sure everybody's cool. They're drinking. There's a little tidbit. Drinking water. See, I knew I could pull something out of my hat, right?
Nothing.
Okay, no new business, no old business, and we did all our action items, so I believe we can adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion on that one? All those in favor?
Mark, yes.
Bill, yes.
Stephanie, yes.
Debbie, yes.
Dennis, yes.
That's right. Good night, everybody. We'll see
Everyone in a month.
you August 18th, is that?
August 13th.
August 13th. See you, next meeting's August 13th on summer schedule. Summer